Well, good morning again. Well, it's morning here. I have another small little project that I'd like to get into. Several months, maybe a year ago, I purchased this, which is a little scribe or a marker for marking your cutting line when you want to cut wood or something, and it's basically just the blade. It's just a little blade, no handle on it, and you can see it's got a sharpened tip, and you use that next to mark the wood where you want to cut. It also came with those two little brass pins that go through the holes in the handle so that you can attach your own handle. It's sort of a semi DIY tool, which I like, and I think the time has come to put a handle onto it. Now I have this little off-cut piece of plank. It's got a hole drilled in it, and I used the piece of plank for something somewhere down the line. Was just kept it in my stash. It's some pretty nice hard solid wood, which is nice. It also has a very fine texture on the grain. Go get them, don't stand here and shout, go fetch them. The nice fine texture in the grain, so I think it'll be fine for making a little handle just to hold that more easily and when I need to sharpen it. So it's about 3/8 of an inch or 10 millimeters thick, and it's going to be quite long enough to go from the shoulder down. So I'm going to use this to just make a little handle for my scribing knife, and let's see if we can do that together. So the first thing that I want to do is I do need to get at least one surface of this perfectly smooth and flat, because I will be gluing it with some epoxy to the blade on either side with the pins going through. So I'm going to put this through my planing machine. Alrighty, noise is over, but that looks really nice and smooth now. I'm actually going to give it just a very light sanding to take anything left off, and then we'll cut it up into a couple of sections that'll work for making a handle. Okay, I got the sander out, just a little Ryobi palm sander, and just a real quick one. Noise. And I think that is going to work just beautifully. It's perfectly smooth, but also just slightly scuffed up. I think that's about an 80 grit, so the epoxy will work really well. Now I need to get this cut into a couple of strips that I can use as a handle. So next job will be on the table saw. Alright, before I actually cut the wood, I guess I need to mark it. So that there being the little shoulder on the cutting blade, which is right over there. We'll just draw a little pencil line. Don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera, but I'm going to mark it just a little bit longer than it needs to be, to give me a space to do some cutting. I'll give myself a 3 or 4 millimeters on either end. So we'll just do a quick mark there. I'm not worried about cutting this perfectly square or anything, because it's all, as you'll see later, going to be shaped up and all sorts of things. So now I'm just going to give myself a a little bit of wiggle room on the width. So if I do about there, that's about a 5mm or 1/4 inch. I'll do a line down there and about the same there, just something like that. Just extend those lines through. Pretty rough, pretty basic, just a guess. So now all I'm going to be left with are going to be those two little sections there that I'll be cutting out and using as the, what do they call them, handles, I don't know. Alright, so onto the table saw. This is the sled that I made, and there's the blade. The blade sticks up just above, so that's going to be nice. I think I'll do the cross cut first. Stick it in there, watch the noise. And now the two rip cuts. Two handles that are going to fit together on the blade of the knife. Alright, so now I have my two little pieces of wood that are going to go together like that, and the blade is basically going to come between them and sandwich it. And as I said, it came with these two little pins that will go through the wood and through the blade and hold everything together. So now what I need to do is, the first thing is these little pins already have holes in the, and that fit in there really nice and tight, so that's a good thing. Now if I can get it out again, I have my drills here, and it looks like 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, that's a perfect fit in there. So I'm going to use that drill, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark where I need to drill the holes in the first piece of wood. And I'm just going to now start getting it a little bit closer to the edge where it's going to need to be. Give myself still a little bit of wiggle room. And now I'm going to actually, yeah, mark out those two holes where they need to be exactly. Hold it nice and tight. Get a perfect scribe going in there. I want this to be as close as I can get it. So now I need to use that drill and make two holes in there so I can move to the next step. So I'm going to set it up in the drill press, and then we can get that done. Alrighty, so now to drill those two little holes. And we got two little holes. Alright, now for the next step. Alright, I need to turn you down a bit more and take you out a bit. There you go. Now you can see. Alright, so now the next step that I'm going to do here, I just want to get a piece of sandpaper very quickly. That's right there on my sanding machine. Just take off the burrs from the drilling. Now that's going to go in like that, and the pins have got to go through through the blade. I think those pins might need a bit of cleaning up, but that's going to go in there like that, and this one's going to go through there like that. So now you can see that those pins are going in perfectly. Now the next step that I would like to do is I'm going to tap those pins in a little bit deeper and then use them to mark on the wood where I need to be. So just get my little tappy. Actually, yeah, I'm going to move this out the way. I'd like a little bit more stable surface than that rubber. That's already gone through a bit. So now I'm going to line that up close enough to where I think it needs to be. That's looking good. And that has given me two little indentations exactly where the other holes need to be. So if I put that in the drill press now, they should line up perfectly with those ones and have no slop, no play anywhere. Right, drilled those holes on the drill press quickly. Just going to double check that they do line up. Oh yeah, look at that, beautiful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blade portion out of it, and I'm going to mark the two little blocks so that I can cut an angle on the handle that's going to be something like that. We'll call it a 45 maybe, and with a tiny little flat section to give it some meat and some strength, and then do that on both of them and make sure that they're absolutely perfectly lined up with each other, and I'll keep the pins in to do that. So I'm going to pop this apart again. Haha, easier said than done. Nope, there we go. And get that lined up best as I can and take it from there. Okay, so I've taken the little blade section out and put them back together using the pins as my my guide, and I'm going to take this over to my little belt sander now and get that shaped up a little bit better and get that starting to look what I want it to look like. Alrighty, I have the belt sander set up. I'm just going to turn it so you guys can see a little bit better how it looks. So now I'm going to get these two blocks as close as possible to what they need to be on the belt sander, just to get it as close as I want it for now. I'm just going to get a pencil and carry those lines through just so that I can get both sides exactly the same. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm dead happy with that side, but I'm just going to square that over to this side so that it's a little bit easier to see right there, and I'll do the same on this side, right to there, And now I'll be able to see a little bit more. I'm just scribing into where the center is just to help it stand out a bit more, so that I can sand this side down exactly the same as that one. Oh, that's not good. That line's completely skewed. Yeah, measure twice, sand once. Yeah, that's a little bit straighter. That better? Yeah, just, oh, gosh, I don't have my glasses on. It's a little bit difficult. That looks better. Oh yeah. And that one looks good. Alright, back to sanding. And that's pretty much what I was aiming for. Just a nice pointy little front section. Alright, now I'm going to go and get this attached onto the handle. Alright, so I have my two little handles taken apart again with my pins and my blade, and now I actually want to epoxy them all together. So I'm going to mix up some epoxy, and to do that I'm just going to stick a little bit of this painter's tape down on my work surface so that I've got a spot to mix the epoxy with. And what I also want to do is I just want to get a small piece of this, and I want to use it to protect the blade itself from the epoxy so that it doesn't go further than I want it to. Let me put that down and get my eyes lined up here. Just like that. Fiddly little things, these. Just like that. I'll fold that over nice and out of the way. And because I'm a messy child, I will put some more over the blade like that. And one more little piece. And in doing that, I will hopefully not get epoxy all over the front of the blade and mess it up. Alright, so that's done. So now I have this instant setting epoxy adhesive. Ooh, instant. Little old screwdriver that I use. Now, pop that off and see if this has still got any life left in it. Oh dear, we seem to have one side not coming out. So let's run it till it both sides. There we go. So now I'm going to abandon that because it's not going to mix correctly. And now oh dear, I am making a mess. A right royal screw up of a mess. Alright, it'll work. Let's just mix that up really well. They say it's instant epoxy. Well, oh, there's a bit of a lump there. Let's take that out. There we go. I hope this is going to work. It's not going to be too fast. That's on there. Some more on there. Alrighty, that should be good. I'm going to put a pin in each hole, and then I'm going to put my blade on. There we go. Put the other one on, line that up, and bang it all together. And now I'm just going to stick this in the vise over here to hold it together for a little bit and get a good squeeze out going. And to clean this up is going to be super easy. Wipe that off and just pull the tape off. And drop it in the bin. Off my finger. There. As easy as that. But alright, let's see if I can turn this without banging, shaking you guys around too much. There we go. Alright, so it should be as simple as that to attach the two handles. I'm just wiping off the screwdrivers before the epoxy dries. It should be as simple as that to get the two wooden handles attached. We'll give this epoxy sets in 90 seconds. I think that was quicker than 90 seconds. Bonds metal, glass, ceramic, plastic, rubber and wood. So we have metal and wood. I think we'll be good. Alright, I'm actually going to give it probably closer to about 30 minutes to set up really well before I start messing with it any further. Okay, my apologies, I got carried away, stuff happened, and I took the little knife out of the vise and fired up my sander and got sanding, and when I got this far I realized I hadn't turned the camera on yet, so I'm sorry. What I've done is, as you can see, I've sanded the two outside yeah, I cut myself on something else, completely different project, don't ask. Nothing serious, just a bit of tape, it'll be fine. Sanded those a whole lot thinner than what they were, and I've also sanded them down so that you can actually just see the edge of the steel blade on either side of the wood. And I also rounded off the back corner. The back corner was sharp, I've just made it rounded. So now what I want to do is each of those four corners, I want to chamfer them down basically at a 45, each one of them, just a little bit, and then smooth it out. So I'm going to go and do that on the belt sander real quick, and I'll take you with me this time. Alright, so just before I put it in the sander, I'm just using a pencil, and just with my finger I'm just running a line down there, just using my finger as a guide, running my finger down just to give me a little bit more of an idea where I need to get to with the sanding, so that I don't get completely carried away and destroy the whole thing. So you guys can see here. Yeah, let's turn it a bit for you. There we go. And alright, so now I've got, instead of a hexagon or a square shape, I now have a sort of octagonal shape around there. And to finish it off, all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to round those edges, and then I'm going to hit it with some sandpaper by hand. Let me just round those off. take you back on that side. Alright, so a little bit of sandpaper. What's this? 120 on a little block of wood. And I'm just going to just very carefully and gently smooth the edges now and make the octagon more round. Just some very gentle sanding. This blue tape is on my finger is getting in the way a little bit. You know, in Afrikaans we have a saying, as jy dom is, moet jy sukkel. Nou ja, laat ek sukkel. Oh man, just get this sanded a little bit like that. This wood is very soft. I have a feeling it's just pine or something, but for what it needs to do on this little blade, it's absolutely more than enough. Much easier and nicer to work with when it's soft, eh? Yeah. Those little edges there do need a bit of a sanding as well. And that's why I've got the blue tape on the blade, so that I don't hurt that at all. This is by no means a showpiece or anything fancy. I just want something that's going to be functional, that I can use, grab, make markings on wood when I want to work wood, and have nice, close, accurate markings that are good and sharp and easy. And man, that feels good. I'm going to get some finer sandpaper than 150 and give it a little bit more of a rubbing and bring you back. Alright, so that was 150. This is 320. I'm just going to put it in the block and just give it a bit of a rubbing over. Those little brass pins that were in there are going to get nice and smooth and shiny from this 320 and look pretty. And the steel edge of the blade sticking out, that just did get ground down very gently, slightly from the sander, that is also going to get nice and shiny and pretty. Yeah, this tape on my finger is a little bit in the way, but I can work around it. Alright, that. There. Not paying attention to what you're doing. So dom is met jy sukkel. Just a small cut, but because it's a sharp blade, it doesn't like to stop bleeding real quick, so put some tape on it, stop the bleeding, and when I take the tape off in a few minutes, it'll be absolutely fine and ready to go. Alright, so that's looking really nice. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. Lovely. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tape off the blade. Don't cut yourself again. Just be careful. There we go. Oh yeah. Now right in that little corner there's a little bit of epoxy still stuck to a little piece of tape, so I'm going to use the knife and get in there real carefully and clean it out, make it look as good as I can. Oh yeah. Like I said, I don't have my glasses on, so this is a little bit, there we go, that's beautiful, that is nice. Alright, so there, And now the final step will be just to oil this wood very lightly. So hold on. Okay, I'm back. I went to go and get that out of the house. Feed and wax. I'm trying to read it backwards on the screen. It's basically just beeswax and orange oil. It is really nice stuff. I use it on a lot of my wood projects just to feed the wood, and it works really nicely. I'll just put a little bit on a tissue and put some on my finger and just rub it into the wood like that. And let me see if I can bring it up so you guys can see there. You see that? Yeah. Look at that. Just rub it in, let it absorb into the wood. The beeswax is really good stuff. Seals it, protects it, but you still get to see the full beauty of the wood. Not that this is really beautiful wood, it's just a cheap piece of pine scrap left over that I had, but all wood has its inner beauty, doesn't matter what it is. Get that in there, rub it in everywhere. Oh yeah. And that was about 3 drops of that stuff for this little project, and off we go. I think that's pretty much about it. I'm going to let this sit for a while now and just let it soak in and do its thing. I have one other thing to show you guys. Let me see if I can get you out of this. There we go. Alright, so while it was in the vise setting up the knife, I built another project, and it was something that I was sitting waiting for glue to dry, and I saw my little squirrels out on the lawn eating some seeds, and thinking to myself that the winter has just started in Florida, and winter is the month that they do all the building, the construction around here. And just in the last few weeks I have seen several vacant lots that have been filled up and covered with trees that have been chopped down and stripped completely bare so that they can build houses there. And that's fine, progression, we need to move forward, but the natural habitat for the squirrels is very slowly being completely destroyed. And I wanted to make something that if they want to, they can move in, they can come and live on my property. We have the big tree in the backyard, so I looked up in the rafters up in my shop, up in there. Yep, there, up there I've got a whole bunch of scrap wood, which was, well, scrap, yeah, it's scrap wood. It reclaimed wooden pallets, and I pulled a bunch of pieces of pallet out, and I built a squirrel house, and that's where I cut my finger because I'm stupid. Take you outside and let you have a look at the magnificence that is the squirrel house. It's got a little roof over the top with a hole for them to get in, couple of steps, and even a little front porch for them. And it's up in the tree, pretty nice and high. They'll be good and safe there. And it's got a whole bunch of shredded paper and even an old towel that I had in my shop for drying my hands, but that was completely falling apart, and it came back from the laundry from the wash and it's just falling apart. So that went in there as well to keep them nice and warm in the winter. And I'm really hoping that the squirrels are going to move in there and grace us with their presence, seeing as I put seeds out for them every day on the grass and on the old tree stump, and they come and eat. And right now it's getting towards the time that they normally get fed. So I'm going to say thank you for watching, for sticking it out with me. And if you think I could have made that handle differently, let me know in the comments. If I could have done anything better, let me know. Give me some comments. I'd love to read them. And thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll think of something to film and keep you guys entertained with and myself busy with in the not too distant future. Thanks. Bye.